I had to investigate a little bit of what they used to call Yankee Ingenuity, right? Back in the old days. So you got a couple of, looks like a couple of floats, and you put the tarp around it to bring them together. You got the sign / sail. You've got it all going on here. You guys are ready. And you got a couple of pallets on the top of the floats. Brilliant.
We made a boat for $80.
I love it. That is cool. I got a YouTube channel, Fishing Historic Places.
We're on YouTube right now.
Nice. You going live?
Well, not live, but do you care if you're in it?
Look at what I'm doing to you. Okay, we're on Cheshire Reservoir's subsidiary pond, Hoosic Lake. And this is the second guy that's been apprehended so far, a little largemouth bass. This is a lake that's got a lot of fish in it. Now, I've caught some big fish in this lake over the years. And of course, I like spinnerbaits, and I think fall is one of the great times to use them. They are a trigger bait, right? They are a bait that gets fish to do the fish thing. It comes over a fish's head. They're very weedless. Look at me cast into the pads. And the fish sees them moving through their territory, their strike zone, and bam, they hit. Not for the faint of heart. Now, this lake has quite a lot of pike in it, so you have to understand that. And as I like to say, be careful. Notice the nursery area that's surrounding me here, so that when the fish bred, right, the pike and the pickerel in the spring early, and then the bass in June, this lake is just beautiful for nursery area. It's got invasive Eurasian milfoil in it, but it's also got massive stands of cattails that make their way out into the water, as well as arrowweed and the various types of water lily. There's probably 6 types of water lily in this lake. And what's cool about it is if you look across the lake from me right now, you're going to see the remains of one of the historic slag pile, basically, because it was sand that put this part of the Berkshires on the map and still provides a mineral resource. Sand, like we're looking at over there, that big sand bank. They found exceptionally pure sand in the Berkshires, which led to a glass industry starting out way back at the beginning of the 19th century, even into the 18th century. You had individuals trying to, create their own glass in here. But that's the remains of an old sand mill. And I remember being here not that long ago, and I believe the mill is located. The foundation of the mill is right over there in that little dell. And I'll get over there later and we can check it out. But sand put this part of the Berkshires on the map. And we're in the top of what's called the Hoosic Valley of the Northern Berkshires. Just on the other side of that hill, we would run into the head of the Housatonic Valley, and the Housatonic will flow all the way down into the Long Island Sound, just east of New York City, right? Meanwhile, the Hoosic River flows down into the Hudson, which flows in a little bit further west of the Housatonic. Not a hog, but it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon in August. He was game, though. You can see the Taconic Range on the left and the Berkshire Hills on the right as we look north from Hoosic Lake, which is an arm of Cheshire Reservoir that's separated by a causeway. So here at the southern end of Hoosic Lake, we can see the massive fields of lily pads and the beautiful nursery areas that this lake has that protect the fish species in here from predation, right? It's hard for fishermen to catch them, but it's hard for Mr. Pickerel to eat Mr. Bass and Mr. Bass to eat Mr. Pickerel. So we have a lot of forage fish that are in here protected by the many different weeds, from water ferns and milfoil to these massive stands of pads. You got the Berkshires on one side and the Taconics on the other. It's a very, very beautiful lake in a sense, right? Good clean water, Berkshire water. And as I said, the headwaters of the Hoosic River. Now you all know that Mr. Beaver builds his lodge with sticks. And of course that's a difference in this lake. We got a lot of weeds, we got some mud, we got some sand, there's a few rocks. But that beaver house creates structure that, yeah, it is visible structure. A lot of guys are going to fish that beaver house. But the beaver house has also got a pile of sticks that he's going to basically feast on in the winter. I don't know if that's active yet, if that beaver house has still got Mr. Beaver and a beaver family in it. It actually doesn't look like it is. It looks like it's last year's beaver house. Hard to say. So we got that beaver house, and it's got a beaver slaw. We're looking for somebody to say, hey, that looks like a delicate morsel. A tasty feast, a tasty treat. There it is. There it is. We're looking for it. Where are you? Oh, nobody wants a piece. When milfoil's in a lake for a while, it forms distinctive bands. And you can see milfoil's been in this lake for 30 plus years. And so you can see the red of the milfoil under the water as I'm casting the spinnerbait here. It creates beautiful, like, formations that are beautiful structure. After the milfoil's been in the lake 10 years or so, it can completely choke a lake and cover a lake. But as it lays, it exhausts the nutrients in the soils on the bottom of the lake. Ice comes along, rips it out, and it ends up forming these beds, which can be really good for fishing. Now, if you have a cottage on a lake with milfoil in it, you're not going to necessarily like it if the bed is close to your cottage. But as far as structure for fish, milfoil is about as good as it gets. However, another problem, there's some milfoil right here. The problem is that it is a very tough weed. So if you get a fish and it goes down into that milfoil, oh, there's one. That milfoil doesn't just break. It's not like a lot of weeds. It doesn't just, it's a little bass. It doesn't just give up the ghost. You know, if a fish were to swim around that milfoil several times, you wouldn't be able to get the fish out. Very, very strong roots and stems. Thus it's called milfoil, because it would foil mills, right? People with water mills in the old country, Europe, oh, there's another one. So like I say, when you get into this stuff, you know the fish like it. There's another, oh, little largemouth gets off. But it's perfect structure, because it's up and down, and it's great ambush country. There's another one. Oh, we missed it. It's great ambush country for fish. And I love to run spinnerbaits through milfoil, and I find that the best spinnerbait to run through milfoil is what I'm using, which, as you can see, is a willow leaf spinnerbait. And that willow leaf really kicks off a lot of light, a lot of glow. It really lights up the bottom. And milfoil beds with these beautiful breaks are just perfect ambush area. And you know what's great about this lake is I can take this canoe all the way across and just float. And I'm going to have these areas where the milfoil beds are, I mean, you really can cast almost anywhere you want in Hoosic Lake, because almost anywhere you've got the milfoil. I find here in this area it's particularly good because it's chunky. There's chunks of it. There's beds of it. And then open spots. And as I said, this lake has got so much of a beautiful nursery area. There's so many places where little fish and minnows can hide that the spinnerbait just whipping by can trigger the feeding instinct of these fish, these bigger fish. That's what I'm going for. I mean, we got some big pike in this lake, and then we've got a lot of largemouth and a lot of pickerel, as in so many Massachusetts lakes, largemouth and pickerel. I don't know if there's smallmouths in here, and I've never heard that there are. There's a lot of smallmouths in the Berkshires, but I don't know about Hoosic Lake having them. Now I'm over by the sand bank where the sand quarry left behind a big pile. Maybe this is not as pure as the sand they took out. Who knows why? It's all sand. Big sand bank. And in the Berkshires, rocky spine of the Berkshires, you had not a lot of reason to come up here and farm as a result of the fact that there was very limited fertility. Later on, when the merino sheep craze hit, that was a little different, but it was like the late 18th century, like the 1780s, that they found really good sand, really high quality sand that could be made into glass. I believe they found some small deposits in the 1760s during the trouble with the British before the Revolution, and they were engaged in small-scale glass-making activities, but the large-scale stuff was really early 19th century, and probably it continued on into the 20th century. I know Berkshire Glass was one of the companies that was involved, but I think there were 3 of them. Out in front of this slag sand pile, you can see the pebbles have been washed clean at the base of it, and the rest of that's just sand. But there's some great milfoil beds in this area, and there have been. Quack duck, quack, quack duck, quack, quack, quack duck, quack duck. Right on the left side of this pond, right in this area, this is the north end of Hoosic Lake, is the old sand quarry, and it's back there, just concealed in the behind the willow trees right here. It was quite an operation for a long time. As the trees have grown up, it's become harder and harder to see it, but I remember when it used to just gaze down on the lake when you were fishing. And of course in the wintertime you can still see it fairly easily. Old abandoned mill where they would have processed the sand that they mined on the west bank from a glacial deposit. You can see it right peeking through the trees up there. I don't know how much damage that mill did to the lake. You'll notice when you're on this lake that there's a lot of tires and refuse in certain places, but the lake has overcome it. You know, the fisheries in the lake are doing pretty well, but I haven't really checked if this is a Superfund site or not. Not like I'm eating the fish out of it anyway, but you got a lot of people using the lake for recreational purposes, which is awesome. So listen, I just met a couple of guys that got their own YouTube channel, and I really feel like you need to check out what Matt Moreau's got in store, because he's clearly doing some things that are of interest to my viewers at Fish in Historic Places, right? If you think about what I'm all about, it's about taking a look at the culture and the history of our northeastern region. And it's been created by Yankee Ingenuity like Kevin and Matt are showing right here. So check them out when you get a chance.